Good morning, guys. Welcome to part 3 of the business boot camp for this weekend. I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you'll take some of the things that I've shared and just implement them. Just implement them, because that's what's going to start changing the results that you're getting. So implement a few things. It's very easy when you begin this searching process to search for, what do I need to get to that next level in my business? You find like 4 or 5 things. And what do? We go in back to our businesses and we try to implement everything. And I can tell you that is a recipe for disaster. You do not want to do that. You want to pick anywhere from 2 to 4 things. 4 is probably pushing the outer limits, but 2 to 4 things that you can implement every quarter. So if you're not doing that effectively, then I would pick 2 things. Just pick 2. And look, by the end of the year, you've got 24 different things that you changed in your company. And you're actually going to get different results because you changed that response. You changed that. The events constantly happen, but you change that response and now you're getting different outcomes. So just pick a couple of things per quarter, implement those, and make sure to see those through to completion. That's the hardest part, is just seeing them through to completion, because oftentimes we'll implement something and you'll immediately see some changes happening. You'll see that, hey, I'm getting better results, and that's great. But if we don't stick to it, then those results slowly start trickling away. And that's happened to me over and over and over again. And it's a shame, because it worked. When you started implementing those things, it worked, but then you lost sight, you lost your focus. So it's all about focus. It's a really important thing in our companies, but it's also, to ensure that it continues, you got to build those processes to make it to where it just becomes a habit. I recently just finished the audiobook Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he says, when you want to start a new habit, you've got to do something that will take you 2 minutes or less. So I highly recommend doing that. Like, it could be just the beginning part of a habit. So if I say I'm going to start running every weekend, or not every weekend, that probably wouldn't be enough, but let's say I'm going to run 3 times a week. Well, if I get into the habit of just putting my running shoes on, that's something I can do that takes me 2 minutes or less. Then now I've got my running shoes on. I might have the thoughts later, hey, I'm ready. Like, I can maybe take the next step, which is to run, to actually do the work, put in the work. So if we can just start that habit by doing something that takes 2 minutes or less, then you're a lot more likely to follow through on the habit. But you got to continue to add stuff to the habit. It's not just the first 2 minutes. I can't just put running shoes on every day and never go take a run. Like, you got to do more than that. But just to get in the habit of starting, I highly recommend doing that. So today we are in the 3rd part of this series. I appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate all the views, all the likes and the comments. Please keep that up. Give me some likes, comments, show me some love if you're appreciating this stuff. And let's get into, and I may have to go through like I did yesterday. Hopefully not. Let's see if I hit this presentation mode. Might start me at the beginning again. So I may have to flip through all of these different, let's see where we're at here. Yeah, of course. Not sure how to make that stop. So let me get through this real quick. I apologize. And here's part 2. Hope you guys learned something from part 2. I know part 1's been a pretty big hit, but part 2 is extremely important. We got to increase our finances in order to move this ship right along, to continue making improvements that we know will make a difference in our company. So you got to have revenue to fuel that growth. You got to have revenue to get people excited, because then they can make more. You can offer more benefits. You can get those uniforms that you've been wanting to get, or buy that new van that you've been wanting to get, or buy that new building. I shared the story about the one client of ours at HVAC Millionaire Coaching that has purchased a building with cash. So you want to have the money to do these things in your business, because if you're not doing new things in your business and you're not seeing, and the people are not seeing the changes and the growth, then, I know if they're high performers, they're going to want to move on to somebody who is, or do their own thing. They'll either want to do their own thing or move on to somebody who is willing to take risks, somebody who's willing to change up the game, and they're not afraid to. Like, at this point, we've changed so many things. Like, you ask any of my guys that have been with me, or girls, for the last several years, like, they know that things are going to change. We're probably not going to do things the same way that we did them last year. And because we've tried to stay consistent with the way we make those changes, now we're not always successful at that, but we try. And as long as we try, and the way we make those changes stay the same, then they're more open to it, and they're more open to accept the change and to actually try the new thing that we're trying to do, to get a different result. Back to the vision, I've got a big vision for my company. We're like in a rural area, like right in the heart. We're in the middle of the United States, in Kansas, where it's really boring here. There's not a whole lot going on, but there's also, we're one of the highest tax states that is in the entire country, the entire United States. We're one of the highest tax states. So there's a lot of money that we pay out that other contractors that I know don't have to pay. And the way I look at this, when we have to, if any expense, when you add an expense, this is how you need to look at it. So let's say you want a 10% net profit. Okay, well, if I add something to my business that's strictly an expense, so if I add a CRM, a customer retention management software, a dispatching software, dispatching invoicing. Well, if that's going to cost me $500 a month, well, let's do something easier. So let's say I just get a subscription to something. I get a subscription to something, and it costs me $1,000 a month. Well, that's $12,000. So at the end of the year, if I want 10% net profit, what do I need to? I need to bring in like 120,000. Is that right? 10% of 120,000 is going to be that 1,200 or the $12,000 that I spent on this deal. So even easier math. Let's say that I add something that cost the business $10,000 for the year, and my net profit is 10% that I'm shooting for. Well, if that's what I want, then I'm going to have to sell $100,000 worth of profit, because I'm only getting to keep 10%, or $100,000 worth of sales. I mean, to keep that 10%. So every time we add some expenses, we have to look at how much do we got to sell to overcome this expense and still have a profit. So if you start looking at things that way, it's going to make you think differently about adding more expenses to your business. But when we're talking about people, which is what we are on in this week, in this third training in the series, we can't look at people as expenses. We got to be looking at people as a way to expand ourselves, expand the business, to be able to see more people, to take care of more customers, to earn more money. Because if the employee does a great job, they're going to produce money and income for the business. And it's your job as a leader, as a manager, to make sure that if they don't produce that money, then we either upgrade their talent by more training, or we move them to a different position on the bus, a different seat on the bus, or we relocate them to a different company. So think of it that way when it comes to hiring people. This is one of the biggest obstacles. Everybody's afraid to hire. And look, like we said in part 2, when it comes to, I was telling you about the story where employees, people, coworkers that join us, they're always going to do what's in their best interest. And that's what we have to do as well as business owners. We have to do what's in our best interest. And if we're doing what's in our best interest, if we're not getting the results that we need to be successful in our company, then we've got to make those changes. And that's where, on the first part of the series, I was talking about where it takes courage. It takes courage to do those things. So when it comes to a business, if you're a one-man shop or even a 2 or 3-man shop, I mean, that's better. But just remember that one of anything is none. Nothing great also has ever been built alone. You need a team of people if you're going to build something that's going to take care of your family and take care of your employees properly. Like, you got to build this thing, and it starts with the first employee. There are 2 types of people to hire, and as you can see, I'm going to keep ingraining that in your brain there. Increase your standards. There's 2 types of people to hire. Now, none of this is absolute. So everything I'm going to share with you is not absolute. It is not the way it is all the time. This has been some of my experience, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. And you may have found that if you've been hiring people or you've had a few employees, then some of this you're going to understand. You're going to be like, yeah, he's right. That's right. So 2 types of people to hire. There's those who have experience, and there's those who do not have experience. Now, there's 2 types of experienced HVAC people. Here are some of the characteristics. Some of them know their value, and they aren't afraid to charge customers. Oftentimes, they've worked for bigger companies, and I love that. I love if they've worked for bigger companies, because then they're used to charging more money. They're used to offering options. They're used to running some of the processes that we've implemented, because we've taken what the best businesses in the country are doing, and we're implementing those into our company. So we know that they work. And in order for them to work, then the people, me included, have to run those processes. And oftentimes when you get somebody who's worked for a bigger company, they already understand that this is a business. We have to make money. Number 2, characteristic of experienced HVAC people, out of these 2 types, is they've leveled up their knowledge on their own. They understand the hours come with the territory. They learn quick, adapt to your company, and they quite possibly, if they're really good, they've won awards at their previous company, even if they think those awards were stupid. Maybe they sold the most maintenance agreements month after month. And here's the thing, is that company actually had awards. Another thing that bigger businesses do that smaller businesses don't. Then the other type of experienced HVAC people, their characteristics are bad habits, bad attitude. They haven't learned anything new, meaning they worked for somebody, and this could be you. So back to taking 100% responsibility for what you have, who you are, and what you do from day to day. This has everything to do with this. Is they learned for 2 or 3 years when they first got into the company. Maybe they went to school for it, then they went to work for a business, and they learned all of those extra things that they didn't learn in school, and they got a little bit better. They got comfortable. They got a little bit better, and they earned a little bit more money. They got a little bit better, and then for whatever reason, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? They got food, shelter, water, safety. Like now they can pay their rent, or now they purchased a home, whatever the case. Like, they get comfortable, and once they get comfortable, they just stop learning. And that's what you cannot do as an HVAC business owner, especially, but you also can't do that as a technician or a comfort advisor or an installer. You've got to expand your knowledge. You got to keep learning, because you're going to be pretty much worthless to almost everybody in this industry if you don't continue to learn. Because we know in our industry, things are changing all the time. Like, the technology is changing, the the environment's changing. Like, I don't know, it's just a constant, never-ending change. So these people, typically with these bad attitudes and bad habits, they refuse to do it your way. even though the last company they worked for was a smaller company that's doing half the revenue that you're doing in your company. That's because if you're doing a lot more revenue than somebody else, because you're doing different things, and you're probably doing a lot of things, more things right than the company they previously worked for, but yet they want to still do what they did in the old company, which gets them the same result, which isn't what they want. They want more money. They want more. They want to work less and earn more. They've got big egos. Like, you know, I had somebody once who I could tell you all kinds of stories because I've had lots of people come and go in my company. And the reality is that these people wouldn't have gone from my company, whether we helped relocate them by ending their employment with us, or if they decided to quit and go out on their own. I mean, not on their own business, but just leave. No matter what, like the reason that it's a positive thing. That's what I was trying to say. It's a positive thing that they left, because if they wouldn't have left, my business wouldn't be in business today. They would have ran it into the ground with their bad attitude. Until you own a business and you build a team, we have like 16, 17 people on our team now. Until you build a business and run a team, then you're not going to understand the concept of one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. But once you do that and you get that bad apple, because you're going to make a mistake, you're going to hire the wrong person. And when you do, then you got to fire that person fast. Hire slow, fire fast. There's a reason that exists out there. There's a reason that people say that. That's because that one bad apple will just completely spoil the rest of your team's morale, their communication, like everything will start unraveling. And so you got to get those people off the bus. They talk down to others on the team. This is a big one. They just think that they're so good, that they're going to continue to talk down to people. They just, they think it's stupid questions, oh, this guy's just asking stupid questions all the time. I don't want to work with him anymore. So this big ego destroys everything around these people, and they don't even realize they're doing it. They have no idea. They're clueless. And so when it comes to having those difficult conversations, we're going to bring that up. We're going to talk about how they're creating their reality. They're creating this environment. And if it doesn't change, there's not going to be room for them here on the team. To give you, as far as like they haven't learned anything new and they refuse to do it your way. There was a guy that went out and it was a duplex, and we wound up looking at both sides of the duplex while we were there. Only the outdoor unit. So he goes in, swaps the filter out. I've got GPS on my vehicles. The reason I have GPS is because of experience with bad people coming on my team, lying, cheating, stealing from the business. And so when people lie, cheat, and steal, they're lying and cheating and stealing from everybody else, all your coworkers. So it's not about just you. It's not about the company. It's about everybody who also chooses to come and work in your company. And so we got to always keep that in mind, like for the well-being of this company. If we're going to win the Super Bowl, I've talked about this before, like we're trying to win the Super Bowl here. We can't have that guy who doesn't pull his weight, the guy who is always doing shady shit, the guy who is always just doing stuff half-assed. Like we can't have him on our team because he brings everybody down. Every time somebody rides with him, then they see these bad habits and this bad attitude and this bad work ethic, and it rubs off on people. And they think, well, if he's made it this far in this business doing half the work, well, maybe I could get by with just doing the half the work. Now, the right people are not going to adopt that attitude, but some people they're in that, they can be influenced. And so we got to make sure that we keep the right people around those other people. But he went to this duplex and he literally was there for 10 minutes. Like on my GPS, I could see that he pulled up at 8:58 and he pulled out at like 9:05, 9:08, something like that. And he comes back and he tells me, oh yeah, I looked at both units. I washed them both out. Checked the refrigerant levels in both of them. They're working good. There's no possible way that you did all those things. And if you did do all those things, how is that going to portray in value to the customer? Like, the guy was here 10 minutes. What could he have possibly done that has any value? And now he wants to charge me, $130 or $280 or whatever it is. Like, there was no value built into that service call. So the next thing that they do is they believe they're worth far more than they actually are, because they translate time, they translate years of being in the business, they translate that with experience, with their productivity, with their what they feel like they should earn. And more times than not, it's overinflated, like the economy, like it's inflated, like, and so that's a problem for your business. You hire one of these people, and if you're not tracking KPIs to know exactly what's happening, if they're producing what they should produce, weighing that against industry standards to make sure that what you're paying them, you're getting that return on your investment, then if you're not tracking that stuff, it can kill your business. So you have to track those things. And once you know what that number is, then you can either adjust their pay, move them to a different position and adjust their pay, or relocate them to a new company. I mean, those are your choices, but you got to do something about it. You can't just let it keep going and going and going, because that's going to destroy your business. Two types of non-experienced people characteristics. Like I said in the beginning, none of these are absolute. None of these are just the way they are. You may have a mix match or a mixed bag of some of these characteristics. Like some people, for instance, some people might have a bad attitude, but they also understand the importance of charging what they need to charge, right? So there could be a mixture, but usually one set of characteristics will stay with one set of production from somebody. So two types of non-experienced people. The type 1 characteristics is they haven't experienced any challenges in life. This to me is a red flag, because and I know how challenging this business is just to learn it. So they're going to come across challenges. They're going to be frustrated. And depending on how that they've been able to respond to those challenges previously in life, is gonna help you get a feel for how they're going to respond to these challenges. The challenge of learning HVAC, learning how to do proper maintenance, learning how to be a technician, how to install, because it can be extremely frustrating. It can be extremely hard to learn these things, and it takes time. So if these non-experienced people have had no challenges, then I don't know, who knows? Like, maybe when the opportunity arises for them to have a challenge, maybe they'll overcome that. A lot of times they won't. Let's just be honest here. Number 2, they don't communicate clearly and there's no eye contact. This is a huge problem in our society right now. Just start interviewing some people with no experience. Start interviewing them, and you're going to find that some of their communication is horrific, like horrible. And they're not going to look you in the eye. They have strange, odd behaviors. And you always have to be thinking, do I want my customers to experience this? Because they're going to be on the front line. They're going to be, interacting with my customers. And some of these guys and gals, like, there's no way. I don't want them to be in front of my customers. It would literally embarrass me. And I'm not saying that they can't improve, but, I guess if you're going to do well in an interview, like, you got to have some customer interaction. You got to be used to talking to people. You got to be used to making eye contact with them. No real experience in customer service. You got to have some customer service. I don't care if you're working a register at Home Depot. It doesn't matter. If you're talking to customers, if you're interacting with people, that's going to be a positive thing for you if you come and interview at my company. No sales experience whatsoever. Like we have to sell in our businesses. So you're going to learn how to present options to people. You're going to learn how to offer a surge protector or a humidifier. Even if you're an installer, like you're going to learn these things. So that can be kind of a detriment if you've never sold anything to anybody. And one of these things is they don't value your time. I mean, some of these guys, even some of the experienced guys, like they show up to an interview 10 or 15 minutes late. That is like, you've just crossed yourself off the list. Like you're not going to make this team. If you're obviously don't care if you get this job or not. So I don't even know why they even show up. They might as well just ghost me and not show up if you can't. Now, if they call ahead and say, hey, I'm having a hard time finding your place, or I am running late, I am so sorry, then no worries. No worries. I will give them a chance. I will have that interview with an open mind. The other type of characteristics for non-experienced people, and this is what we're looking for right here. They want more than a job. They're searching. They want a career. They want something. They want to expand the possibilities. Maybe they've started a family now. Now they have more responsibilities. So they're looking for a job that requires more responsibilities because they know and they understand that they can earn more in that position. They have previous experience interacting with customers. Maybe they were a server at a restaurant. That's perfect. That's perfect because they're going to understand that some customers, how to deal with customers. We've got one guy who was a cop for like the last 6-7 years. Well, he understands dealing with customers. Like he had to deal with domestic violence disputes, and he understands how to calm a situation or how to remain calm in a situation where people are not calm around him. Well, that's great experience. That's great experience. Not that we're always dealing with mad customers, but once in a while we are. And if he can handle that, then he can handle a happy customer. So that's a perfect match. Maybe they've been through challenging times. I love if somebody's been through challenging times, and they ought to be able to share some of that when I ask that question in an interview. Tell me about a challenging time. Tell me about something challenging that in your life that you've overcame. Like share the experience with me. Because that just lets me know that you've got a little grit. You got a little toughness in you, some resilience, because I know that this business is tough. You got to be tough. You got to be resilient. They speak clearly and have eye contact. Of course. I mean, it's just like a no-brainer. They're on time. They're prepared for the interview. They're dressed well. If they aren't dressed well, that's not like a make it or break it type thing for me. Because I've had people say, hey, I apologize for, I just got off work. I apologize for my appearance. If that's okay, then I can be there at 4:30 or whatever. Well, I'm totally cool with that. Like you can come in as filthy as you can be, as long as you let me know that, hey, in order to be here at a time when you guys are here and are willing to do the interview, I may come dirty, so I'm not worried about that. Here's the most important part when it comes to hiring people for your business. And I think I touched on it, so I'll just touch on a little bit more. Everybody's scared to hire. This is why companies don't grow. This is why, because you're afraid what's going to happen when it slows down. Well, it's going to slow down, so plan for it. That it's also going to get busy, so you're going to need help. Well, if you ever want to grow the business, like take the risk, hire somebody, do it, like start training them. In my market where I'm at, there's very few people out there searching for a job who have experience. That doesn't stop me from looking. Like I'm always looking, but I hire more non-experienced people than people with experience, and it's worked out great for us. It is a process. It is a process to get them up to speed, to get them trained. But with the right team members, because we do our due diligence on the front end hiring process, those people are willing to train them. They've got great attitudes about it. As long as the guy has a work ethic and he shows the willingness to work and to learn, excuse me, then my team is going to support you. So, but like I said, the due diligence on hiring somebody, you got to use a process. There's got to be a well thought out series of questions. You got to determine exactly what this job position needs and requires. So you need a list of bullet points, what you're looking for. Also, a list of bullet points of what you're not looking for. Always two people present, because that second person may see something or catch something that you missed. Oftentimes, if you really jive with somebody, then your emotions can overcome, because you may be connected on one subject or something. Then your emotions may overcome some realities that maybe you missed. You didn't catch them, but the other person may have caught them. So it's always important to have two people in every interview. Now, if you're by yourself, do it by yourself. I'm not saying don't let that stop you from interviewing somebody. But as soon as you have two people on your team, then when you hire somebody new, and if that first person was a good fit and everything worked out and they're doing great, bring them into the interview. Have them sit quietly and listen and observe. And then once the interview keeps going, as it progresses, then of course they can ask some questions as well. Like, you got to really feel people out before you just make a decision to hire them. We can't just say, I talked about this in the free training. If you guys have not checked out the free training, be sure to check that out, because I talk about quite a bit about hiring people in that free training. But you can't just, when it comes to hiring somebody, you can't just say, oh, do you have experience? Oh, great. How much do you need per hour? Okay. When could you come to work for us? No, it's way deeper than that. I don't care how much experience they have. If they have a bad attitude, they're not going to come in and ruin our mojo in my company, which is what will happen. If I make a bad hiring decision, it can ruin the mojo in my company. And it takes a while to rebuild that mojo, to gain momentum again. And I've made lots of mistakes, and you're going to make mistakes too. But the reason if you have a process, you can weed out some of those people and avoid some of those mistakes. You got to expand on your questions to go deeper. Don't let it just be surface level. You got to say things like, tell me more about that. We've had people come in and tell us that they were great workers, and the boss that they worked for had his son working for him. And so this guy pretty much developed a mutiny against the boss because of the way that the son was being handled was so much differently than the other employees in the business. Well, there's a lot of different ways to go about that if that's happening. Like, you need to have serious one-on-one conversations with the boss, instead of just forming a mutiny against the boss and having 6 people quit on the same day. And he was proud of that. And, well, do you want that to happen in your business? Because if something goes sideways with this person, and they feel, even if it's not the truth, if they feel that they got the short end of a stick, then what are they going to do to your business? They may go out and rally all the teammates against you on some false knowledge, and they're going to do this. It's possible that they could do the same thing to you, and you don't want that happening. So that's a no-go. I'm not hiring that person. They went about it the wrong way. Debrief after the interview. Be sure that the other person that sat in the interview with you, that you guys discuss. You take notes during the interview. Point out the positives and the negatives that you found during the interview, and be sure to debrief with each other after the interview. What did you like about him? What did you not like about him? Well, when he said this story, it made me think that he's going to create a mutiny against us, And so compare notes and then make your decisions. And then once you compare notes, well, then you're going to call references, right? Call references is check up on them. Also, you should be asking, who's somebody that you worked for That's another thing. Like, it drives me crazy if somebody has worked for somebody for 2 or 3 years, maybe even if it was 5 years ago, but they worked somewhere for 2 or 3 years, and you say, well, who did you work for? Oh, I'm not sure. I can't remember their names. Okay. How is that possible? How can you not know some of the names of your coworkers? If they're normal people, like, they're probably going to give you a couple of names. Okay, well, if I wanted to get a hold of them, do you have their number or anything? Like, call some of the people that they actually worked for, not just the bosses. And then after you gather all this intel, you got to make a decision. And don't be afraid to call them back in for a second interview. Don't be afraid to take your time. Like, there's a lot of times where I'll post a hiring that we're hiring on Facebook, for instance, on the job market or whatever it's called. And I just let it go. I'll just let it go. And I may collect, 10 resumes in or applications in a week before I even reach out to one of them and contact them. I'm not going to get in a hurry to hire somebody. And if they're in that big of a hurry to go work for some Yahoo who doesn't have their best interest in mind, who isn't focused on growing the company and doesn't involve their people in training and doesn't take risks to build the business, then let them go. But if they want to join something like that, what we're doing, then I feel like if it's a good fit, it's going to work out. They'll give me the time needed to have it all come together. Also, always be hiring, no matter what. I don't care what season it is. I don't care if you're in the worst season possible, which for us is February, March, April. It doesn't matter if somebody good walks through my door, or I've probably got an ad going somewhere. Then, if the right person comes along, I'm going to hire them. So I'm not afraid to do that, because we need people to grow our businesses. Our biggest months are June, July, August. So I need to build up my team. I need to fill my roster. I need to fill the bench full of people that are ready to hammer it when it's go time. Otherwise, we're not gonna ever expand and have the best months ever that we've ever had. We have to have people ready to go. Increase your standards, upgrade the talent of the team. I talked about this yesterday on part 2 of this 3-part series. You got to constantly be upgrading the talent of the team. Don't wait for the experienced person to hire. This is what everybody does. It's ridiculous. If you live in a big market with millions of people, then you could probably find somebody with experience who's just in a transition or is tired of the environment that they're currently in, and they're willing to make a move and change environments for the possibility of some growth and expansion. That's great. If you're in my market, forget about it. It's not out of the last year and a half, I've been hiring half the time. And I've had 3 people apply with experience, maybe 4. And 2 of those people did not show up when I scheduled an interview. So if I sat around and just waited for an experienced person to come along, my business is going nowhere. Well, if you're in the same situation that I'm in, your business is going to go nowhere too. If you're just waiting for that one experienced person to come along, don't be afraid to hire the right people, because if you find the right people, they're going to learn quick. They're going to get to, especially with you as a teacher, you're probably a great technician. You're probably a great maintenance guy. You've got a great personality. You got all these things going for you because you own a business. Well, you can share those things, and somebody with the right attitude will come in and just crush it. It might take them 4 months to get up to par where they're a great help. And so don't wait for that experienced person. You're going to be waiting a long, long time. Every so often we get lucky and somebody with experience does come join us. But over the last year, it's only been 1. So, but it doesn't stop me from hiring people. So I'm telling you, don't let it stop you either. Don't wait until you're ready to hire or to begin searching, because if you wait till you're ready, it's too late. So if you're like, we're going to have the best summer we've ever had, this is going to be the year where we actually make a difference and we double our revenue, we grow the business. If you wait till June to start looking for somebody because you feel comfortable now that you got cash flow coming in, forget about it. Like, you might as well just focus on doing what you can with the summer. Don't worry about hiring this time of year. That time of year, June, July, August. I mean, you still have some ads out there, but it's already too late. If you think that you're going to get somebody to come in and save the day, no, it's not going to happen. Use social media. Like, I am not for these. I recently did a deal with Indeed where they had like a 30-day trial. Every single person that it gave me in my area, nobody had experience. And after the 30-day trial, I let it go for like 6 days, and they charged me like $600 for 6 days. So I was instantly like disappointed, shut it off. No good candidates. And I just forget about it. I personally, they may work in bigger markets. I'm telling you, they don't work very well in small markets. So you can definitely give it a try. Don't just take my word for it. Maybe you'll have a better experience than I did, but I've tried a couple of different ones. Nothing good came out of it. So I just stick with social media. And it's worked for me. You got to sift through a lot of people to find that right one. But when you find them, then they can grow quickly and help you grow your business. Remember what's in it for them when you're writing the copy. Like, this is an ad. This is advertising. This is marketing. When you're writing that copy, looking for somebody, don't just say what everyone else says. 401k, bonuses available, uniforms, vacation time available, training available. Like, everybody does that. Like, you're not setting yourself apart for that, but you got to tell them what's in it for them. So write it like you're writing to that specific person who you want to. If it were you out there, like, what would I need to see in order to entice me to join this company? If I'm an A player, I'm a top performer, what am I going to need to see? And that's what your copy needs to be about. You need to write about what's in it for them, with them, the WIIFM, what's in it for them, something like that. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you learned something. Hope you'll understand that you can find people and you can build a great team. And it can happen relatively quickly. One of the people that's a client of mine, her and her husband own a business, and I got them out of this fear of hiring because they were scared to go into a slow time and not have business. And man, they were able to capitalize on so much work during the summer that, like, they're going to be fine through the slower months. And that's because they took the leap of faith. They took the risk. And they started thinking bigger, and they got unstuck. And so you can get unstuck too if you just make the choice. It's a decision. You can make it right now and say, I'm going to hire somebody. And that way, by next summer, you'll have help, or more help. If last summer was rough and it just like wiped everybody out because everybody's working their tail off and you just didn't have enough people, well, prepare for next summer. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm going to continue to do. And before you know it, our business will be 30 people and we'll be doing 5-6 million. So do what you need to do to make the changes. I hope you enjoyed this mini boot camp. Thanks for watching. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your support, your love, and I'm giving you love too. I hope you enjoyed this. This is something I didn't have to do. I just wanted to share it with you to maybe help you. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, watch the free training. The link will be in the description. Reach out to me if you have any questions at hvacmillionaire@gmail.com. Love you guys. Go make money. You got to hire people if you want to make more money. So good luck.